What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I am your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm on the mic.
And it's now August. And with it being August, which is crazy, happy August, everybody, it's summer. There's a lot going on. It's exciting. Maybe you're going to a cottage. Maybe you're traveling. Maybe you're seeing a lot of friends, barbecues, pool parties. It can be real easy to break out of that routine. Maybe a little bit more vacation at work. And it's not a fun feeling to be out of rhythm, to be in a rut, to be like, oh, I just want to get back to what's working. And you also don't want to feel bad about enjoying summer, enjoying these events, enjoying having things going on. And this is a common question we get from our clients. So we figured let's make an incredible resource on this with our top tips on how we personally break out of ruts, how we help clients break out of ruts, and even better to where we get you in a path of momentum where you don't ever need to re-rail yourself when you get derailed. So I'm going to start first and foremost, and this is a little bit of an obvious one, but this is one I stand by, and that is to actually acknowledge the rut. What are the holes in your game? Doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you're lazy. It just means you let yourself kind of get away from what you know you should be doing. And that can happen so easily if all of a sudden, like, you go to the gym every day, but at that time you've had meetings or you're on a trip and there was no gym available. It can be really tough. Like, absolutely. You could be like, oh no, I haven't gone to the gym in a week, or I haven't gone to the gym in 2 weeks, or whatever it may be. And I think to say, wow, like, this is something that's slipping away from me. I'm getting more comfortable than I'd like with not going to the gym. Spend some time and reflect on that and say, how can I actually make this a priority to make sure I get this in? Or what's the solution? Or maybe it was hard for me for a week, but as soon as I'm home, I'm in the gym. I'm not missing a day next week. I'm holding myself accountable to it. So just reflect and accept is what I like to say about these ruts. You're not a bad person. Don't guilt yourself. Don't feel miserable about it. Just understand what happened, why it happened, and what you're going to do about it.
Absolutely. That's very well said. Remember that. Reflect and accept. I like that. That's definitely got a nice catchy phrase to it there. But number 2 is setting clear, achievable goals. And the key here is to start with a small, manageable goals that's going to allow you to build momentum. Because when you build momentum, you just feel so much better. You start to take action, you take these small steps forward, you feel like you're making progress, and then boom, next thing you know, you're doing massive, big things and accomplishing huge things because you've taken those first few steps forward. And it's also very important, though, to be clear on your long-term goals as well. So I think sometimes people make the mistake of just small, short-term thinking, and then that's all they do. But it is very important to have both these things in line, because that's what's going to propel you forward and help you stay accountable in the long run as well. So, outlining your biggest aspirations and breaking them down into smaller steps is going to be one of the greatest things. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this one, because this coming up Monday, you are not going to want to miss it. We dive in heavy into goal setting, some tips, some strategies, some different thinking processes, and Josh goes hard on that. So I can promise you this will change the way you set your goals.
Next up, we have creating a routine. So when you're out of a rut, most often when you're in a rut, you're usually out of routine. And one of the best ways to combat this is making a new, better routine. So as I've mentioned, oftentimes when things shift, so like, let's say you've always worked 9 to 5 and all of a sudden you have to work 12 to 8. That's a radical shift. That might really mess with your schedule. Or maybe you've gone to the gym early, but now you're working at 6 a.m. onwards and you can't go in the morning. And this is where you need to hit the drawing board and create a new routine. And there will always be variables. And I've gotten really good at this, obviously, with having 2 small kids under 2. It's always wild. And one thing a lot of people say with parenting before I even had kids is routine, 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 routine. The better routine you can have is just makes things so much better. But the challenge is there's always things going on with kids. There's always things to break that routine. You have to adjust and adapt. But that's absolutely okay, because we've reflected and we've accepted. So from here, we can create a new routine that addresses maybe the new challenges and finds new solutions. And it's not to say it'll be perfect. Maybe it won't work and we're going to have to do it again. But by being consistent and doing this regularly, you will find a solution to that problem. And eventually you will develop something that works for you, that gets you right in the right direction. And some ways I like to do this is just by hitting my calendar. I use Google Calendar. I know some people use Apple Calendar. I know some people write it out, but look at your calendar and be really honest about where you can get things done and when, and do it in advance, because it's easier to follow a plan when you have it versus just being whimsical and saying, I'll go to the gym at some point today. So this is a big one. I stand by it, and that's number 3.
Yeah, number 4 is just prioritizing self-care. And oftentimes when it comes to a rut, a lot of external things could be taking place. It could simply be, your boss who's just overwhelming you, giving you a million things and not caring about you and your life and your work balance and whatnot. It could be some family things. It could be anything, even friends and whatnot. And I really think that when you prioritize yourself here, not only physically but mentally, it allows you to just feel so much better and then also build that momentum. So some examples of physical health here, obviously, exercising, eating well, and getting enough sleep. Like those 3, it will be very, very hard to just feel like you're in a rut and just to not feel your absolute best. And I know it's easier said than done, but like breaking each one of those down and figuring out how can I get myself to, prioritize it, and how can I create a routine, like Josh said, for number 3, schedule it in, makes such a big difference. And mental health wise, obviously practicing mindfulness, meditation, or even journaling to improve stress and managing focus. Like these things make such a big difference. And I find that when I'm at my absolute best, when I'm not feeling like I'm in a rut, when I feel like I'm getting momentum, like these are the things that I really feel like I have down. And anytime that sleep's down and I'm not exercising much, which doesn't happen luckily, but there are times in the past, years and years ago, where I did feel like I was in like massive ruts. Like these are the things that I was just really neglecting. I was always staying up a little bit later. I was just maybe sleeping in a little bit. I wasn't moving as much. I'd skip out on some morning walks. And the more you allow these things to compound, the easier it is to get in a rut. So take care of this. Prioritize yourself. I promise you'll start to feel better.
Very, very well said. And the next one is to identify obstacles. I've mentioned this before, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but what is that main thing? What is really holding you back? Think when you're driving, you get a roadblock. You got options. You got to go around it. You got to turn back, find a new route. Or in this case, if your obstacle is something you can end, if you're like, wow, I've been scrolling Instagram way too long and then I just get tired and then I miss the gym, axe that. Cut that out of your schedule. Be brutally honest here and really understand what is the clog here. What's holding up your progress? What's stopping that from occurring? So just spend some time thinking on that, but that is number 5.
Number 6 is just getting inspired, seeking inspiration and motivation. So there's a couple different ways to approach this. The first one is just reading and learning. And I find that I'm always at my absolute best when I'm filling my day up with knowledge. When I jump in the car, I turn on that audiobook or podcast. When I wake up, I do my morning tasks. I put on a motivational YouTube video, all these amazing things. So, books, podcasts, articles, just different things that get you thinking and then get you learning and also just get you thinking differently and get you pumped up. And even network, like you can't forget about network. Obviously it's great to have videos and podcasts and, mentors and all that great stuff, but just simply surrounding yourself with motivated and supportive people, offering encouraging advice, helping you stay accountable, all these great things. Like it is so much harder to be in a rut when you're just constantly filling yourself up with this amazing knowledge, amazing inspiration. Like these are the times I'm most motivated. And I find when I'm in a rut, it's like I'm consuming none of this. So oftentimes it's just about that first step to turn on that video, to listen to the podcast. And I've even heard some people say, like, when they stop listening to our podcast, like they aren't as motivated. They're not filling themselves up with knowledge and inspiration and fire. And that's why tuning in every single week to these 2 episodes, having other people listen to, it makes a really, really big difference.
Yeah, for me, I just find when I'm feeling stuck or I'm not motivated, find that source of motivation, listen to someone who inspires you, and really just see what actionables you can pull from it. And when you get that idea, you get that green light in your mind. I just find that such an easy way to overcome not feeling inspired. And another thing I like to do is by tracking my progress and having fail safes. So it's like these extra little fail safes to stop you from crashing and burning hard. So myself, I do my measurements every single month to really hold me accountable to make sure that's moving in the right direction. And if they're not, I know I need to make some changes. I track my spreadsheet every single week. I make sure to fill that out and reflect on it, completely filled out. And that's one thing I take a lot of pride in. I really make sure to make a priority. I also book those DEXA scans. We do those every 6 months, looking to move those to extra 3. And those provide me extra accountability to make sure I'm actually always succeeding. Whereas if I'm just blissfully ignorant, it's real easy to think we're doing better than we are and then all of a sudden be shocked by it because we have a photo taken of us that we don't like or we realize something doesn't fit. So by doing this, it can kind of help you hold into the position where you want to be. So have these fail safes in your journey and really just track your progress.
Absolutely. And number 8 is celebrating those small wins. I think it's so underrated. I think a lot of times people don't acknowledge, and I talked about this recently on a podcast, but they don't acknowledge their wins. They don't really pay attention to it, and they're always focused on that next thing, which it is important to allow the momentum to build and to not slow down and to keep going. But I find that when you allow yourself to celebrate success, even if it's a small thing, subconsciously it tells you, hey, you're on the right track, like keep doing this stuff. And celebration will look different for each person, so I'm not going to tell you how you should celebrate, but really just simply acknowledging it at least and giving yourself some sort of recognition will make such a big difference. And I think it's so underrated and something that can definitely help you out, especially for those small things, like even making it to the gym. It's easy to be like, oh, well, okay, well, I have to do it. But like actually sitting there and being like, man, I'm really proud of myself for actually showing up. And here's the reasons I could have not done it. And just paying attention to these things really will help you consistently move forward. And that next time when you've acknowledged that you showed up when you maybe could have not showed up, like it allows you to just make that right decision moving forward, build that momentum, and get yourself out of that rut.
And the next one I'll have is just staying flexible. It's so easy to expect your routine. It's like, I've always done this. It's just like, that's how it is. But by being willing to try new things and change it and really maneuver and be malleable in your journey, you'll be in a much better position than where everything needs to be fixed and exactly specific and exactly done at the same time. It's not realistic and it's going to hold you back. So by having that ability to adapt and to learn and to reflect alongside all the other things, it's really just going to make this a lot easier for you. And it'll be a lot easier to get back in rhythm when you get pushed out of it.
Beautiful. And last but not least, one of the most important things is getting support on your journey to help you get unstuck and to get out of that rut. So similar to number one, Josh was talking about acknowledging the rut. There's so many different reasons you may be in a rut and really struggling. And I could list a million different reasons because I've seen a lot of them. But even simply put, if someone's consistently showing up with the wrong advice and the wrong actions, you're going to constantly feel like you're in a rut because you're not seeing progress and you're not succeeding. So that alone is big enough to just constantly leave you feeling like, I'm stuck. I'm not seeing progress. What's the point? There's a lot of negative thoughts that come from doing the wrong actions, from not seeing results, from not being able to be consistent because your meal plan is too strict and rigid. So the point I'm trying to get at here is that having a coach and having someone by your side to give you the right action plan to allow you to start to see success. And that's another thing, is when you see results, you become addicted. Like there's no way you're going to be in a rut when you're following the right actions, you're showing up for yourself, and you're starting to see that progress. And that's why we wanted to allow you to take this tip into consideration, to think about it. But also, if you want to get next level results, get unstuck, get the results you deserve, simply send us a message with the keyword Get Unstuck to our Instagram, which is Colossusfit, COLOSSUSFIT. We have a special promo we are running for this. If you are stuck, if you are in a rut, if you're just wanting to get to that next level and feel your absolute best, I promise we'll take care of you. Results guaranteed. And that's it for today's episode. Just want to say thank you for spending time with us here. Can't wait to hear from you on Instagram, which is once again Colossusfit, COLOSSUSFIT. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.